All right, I'm going to be working on Atlas preparing to tie. So I'm not going to just go ahead and tie him. I'm just going to have him just see the rope above him on the fence and have it move and come down. And then as soon as it comes down, I'm just going to give him a treat and click as it comes down and then feed him. So for him, I really have to break everything down, so I kind of throw it over, pull it down, and I'm clicking as at the same time as I'm pulling the rope to the ground. So he's just getting used to seeing the rope up on the fence where it would be if he were tied, and then if the rope were to move, I don't want him to be freaked out. This is very similar to what I was trying to do with the leading, is desensitize him like over time to the rope, and then he's not terrified of it if it's like dragging by him. So it's gonna be the same thing. So if he's tied, or if I even have the rope just looped around the panel, because that's how I will tie him, like his first time, it'll just be over the panel, and then it can just slide free. It's not a big deal. I don't hard tie anything. But if he were to leave, that rope is going to make that same movement where it chases him from his perspective. So I definitely don't want him to be terrified of that. I want him to think that's a good thing. So I'm just kind of breaking it down and showing him the rope can move. It's not a big deal, like trying to associate it positively to him. So this video is from February. So the last video was leading in December. I don't have any videos from January. And then this is what we've started back doing. He does do some leading in this video too, but I just cut that out because it's the same as the previous videos, but that's what we were working on at the time. I would, now that I'm looking back, voicing over this video, I would do some tapping with him, so some endo tapping. I really like that. I found that, and it seems to be super awesome for the horses, and I feel like especially Atlas has a lot of body tension. So I would definitely be tapping him and then associating with the rope here, because I've put different videos of him working with this same exercise together from 3 separate days, and you can tell that he gets better. But I feel like with the endo tapping, he would be more relaxed from the beginning, so then he would be able to associate it more positively, versus like now he kind of is, but he still has some tension in his body. So I'm also kind of rewarding that, just because it's there. So it's part of the context and what I'm rewarding, and I don't want it to be, if that makes sense. So if I were tapping him first, he'd be completely relaxed in his body. I do the same thing with the rope, and then he's being clicked and rewarded for being relaxed in his body and for the rope coming down, and he's fine. Like here, he's staying and he's all right. It could be much worse, but I definitely want more body relaxation. So I just kind of sped up through this because it's the same kind of thing. You just want to make sure that you're on either side of the horse, just so that he can see the rope coming through each eye, and then make sure you're not super close in case he were to strike out or something. I did not do this with Castor. I say that every time I make a video, basically. Atlas needed a lot more breaking down than Castor did. Castor tied and he was totally fine. So here he's gonna think about leaving. I'm just gonna continue tossing the rope up and down. I'm like, you can leave, it's fine. He's in a round pen, he's not going nowhere. But when he stops and relaxes and kind of comes over here, then I will stop and I will give him a treat. So he comes back, and then I should have probably stopped a little bit sooner here because he came up, and now he's backing away and wanting to leave. So I should have clicked him earlier once he came up that first time. And been like, yeah, I want you to come up here. But you also have to be careful with that, because you don't necessarily want to click them for they think it's leaving and coming back. So that's why he came back. I tossed it on the rope or on the panel a couple times, and then I clicked and fed. So you don't want to click as soon as the horse comes back, because the horse might think, oh, I'm supposed to leave, like do this loop to the left and then come back. And they think that's the behavior you want. So like now he's doing that same behavior. So even though I waited, I'm going to wait again and make sure that he doesn't think this is part of the behavior. I want him to stand relaxed while the rope comes on and off the panel, not go and walk around in a circle. So you have to be really careful with those things. Castor didn't leave very much. He's super food motivated and he's already a lot more relaxed in his body. Atlas wants to leave quite a bit. So that was much better. I like that he came up on his own. I probably should have clicked a bit earlier here than I did. Like I did a few more rope tosses on the panel. I should have clicked a bit earlier. But that's what I want. I want him coming back up toward the rope versus leaving away from it. That's what I want to reward. So I just keep doing this. And I kind of cut pieces where I slowed it down and sped it up just so you could kind of see what I was doing. But this time he decides to leave again. So now I'm like, all right, he's not horribly terrified. He's just kind of wandering and sniffing around. So I'm like, put a little bit of pressure on him. Like, okay, let's come back to the task and we'll work through it a bit more. So he wants to leave again. So I'm just going to be like, no, I'm not putting a ton of pressure on him, just enough. He yields his hindquarters there, comes back. Like, no, we're going to work on this instead. But I also didn't want to, put the lead rope on him and make him stay and scare him too much. So this is the exercise that worked the best for him. So I had to take my coat off, so I had to cut that out. Yes, it's February, but it was hot. So but I just keep doing this, working on that. It's a nice arm workout as well, but he's much more relaxed here. He's not thinking about leaving. He at first, I think the first time he left, he was like, oh, this is a little scary, I'm just gonna leave. And I'm like, that's fine, you can leave, that's great. I don't want him to feel trapped. But then I think after that, he was just like, okay, I'm kind of bored. Like, this is worrying me a bit, but he's more like, I'd rather go over here kind of a thing. So I put a little bit of pressure on him, and then he thought this was a bit more fun. So I'm just doing it from the other side, making sure he's okay with that. And then it's gonna cut to the next day, I believe. So just kind of do this a little bit, try to end on a good note. That was a decent amount of work. Okay, so not the next day, it's the 11th. So I'm gonna start out doing the same thing. So he's had a couple days off not doing anything. And then we're just going to do the same thing. And I just kind of sped through this video because you already get the idea. I would go really slow in the beginning, not sneaking slow. Sneaking slow never works, but just kind of tossing it over. But you can tell he's definitely improved. He's not leaving. He's standing more relaxed. So, and I left the rope up there and he wasn't worried about it. So not too bad. And we just kind of did that for a minute that day. This is the next day. That's what I was thinking of. Okay, February 12th. So now I think he definitely showed some improvement the day before on the 11th, but I think you can really see it here because he's much closer. So he stopped leaving. He's going to touch it on his own, which honestly I should have started with from the beginning. I should have had him target it before I started moving it up and down on the panel. So like I said a million times before, this Mustang thing was an experiment, so we're both learning together. Like, whoever's watching this, trying to help you out so you don't make the same mistakes I did. But I should definitely had him target the rope on the fence first, because that would have been much easier. So, but he was touching it himself, so he's being nice and relaxed and confident, and he keeps coming up to me too. So that's another thing that the targeting does. He already knows how to do it. He likes doing it, so he's just like, oh, I'm gonna come over here and target. So, but much better than the other day when he was trying to leave. So, not too bad. And then just keep kind of tossing it up and over the fence. Not too worried about it. Not going to be super tense and crazy with it. I'm trying to get him to move here so he can see me on the left eye, because he's kind of facing me at an angle and he's seeing it mostly in his right eye. He didn't want to get in position like I wanted, so I just went ahead and had him do a little U-turn there and make sure he was cool with seeing the rope out of his left eye. So not too bad. And I'm trying to do the same intensity, but he does seem more relaxed overall, so that looks pretty good. And then I'm not rewarding every single time. He thinks that being on the right side is where he needs to be. So I just kind of put him back over, and then we'll just work on it a bit more. And he didn't have a halter on, so I just used my hand as a target, which he knows how to follow. But he was pretty good, so you can kind of see the progress of that exercise over a few days. I just do it a few days, and then we start working with the rope and then actually working on tying.